But starting with the higher standards, one of the issues we have is in Tennessee, I don't think we've set the bar high enough. And until we do that, I don't think we're going to have the performance that we need. One of the good things we've done is adopt what's called the Tennessee Diploma Project, which I'm sure you all probably talked about on your show. But it has two key elements. One, additional math and science and personal finance requirements for high school students. But also, we're now, when we take our kids take TCAP tests, the standardized tests now, right now we grade those only on our own standard, and each state gets to set its own standard. Unfortunately, Tennessee set theirs really low. Next year we're adopting national standards, which is a better way to evaluate where we really are, so that's a good thing. Yeah. Number two, principals. There's 1,712 schools in Tennessee, elementary, middle, and high school, okay? I'm convinced that the quality of any institution is largely determined by the quality of the leader. You know, whether it be, you know, a community college, a restaurant, a football team, a church, whatever it is. And those principals, I think we really can provide better training, more background. Some of them have been wonderful academic teachers, but maybe never had the human resource and the financial training they need to lead this big enterprise called a school. And I think we can leverage that and make sure we have 1,712 great principals. Third thing, we all know from personal experience, I know you all have children, I think I have three as well, that and we've all been in school. We've all had great teachers, and our kids have, and we've all had some that weren't so great. So in the end, we need a specific strategy for getting great teachers in the classroom. At the end of the day, if I said, over here's classroom A, we have smart boards on the walls, each kid gets a laptop to take home, and the teacher's mediocre. And over there is just one chalkboard, one piece of chalk, but a great teacher. I bet we're all going to choose option B. From our own personal experience. So if that's true, what's our strategy for getting great teachers? Real quickly, the fourth is about using the data that we have. One great thing we have in Tennessee is we have great historical data on students' performance. And so we can say everybody that had Ms. Lara in third grade, here's what the rest of their academic career looked like. And everybody that in fourth grade made a C- in reading, here's what the rest of their academic career looked like. Now, we don't use that to say, here's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Well, Johnny, you made a C- in reading, therefore you'll never, you know, you won't go to college. Not at all. We use it just for the opposite. We use it to intervene, like you do when you go to the doctor, and the doctor says, here's your symptom, here's what you need to do about it. Let's use all that data we have, put it in a usable form for our teachers and our parents to be able to intervene when something's going off track. We have a lot more about that, but we're running out of time.
Yeah. We have about 9 minutes left. Let's talk about healthcare a little bit,
Sure.
if that's okay. You've stated that despite Tennessee's massive investment in healthcare, we have one of the least healthy populations in the nation. How do we reduce the cost of healthcare while improving the overall health of our citizens?
Yeah, it's a great question and a big issue. I mean, I think we rank 47th or 48th, and a lot of it, you think about some things that were particularly high or low end, depending on how, or on the bad end of the scale. Things like childhood obesity, type 2 diabetes, some of those things that are, you know, that are directly healthcare decision related that we rate low. And stepping back just from Tennessee's situation, on a national basis, I think until we introduce some personal responsibility into the system, I think we're always going to face increasing healthcare costs. I mean, there was an interesting article in the paper this week about the relationship between obesity and cancer, you know, and the huge connection there. So as Tennesseans, unfortunately, we've made some, not everybody, we have some people who take great care of themselves, obviously, but as a state, we're not making as good a healthcare choices as we can, and we're going to have to introduce that into it. But I think that the key things, if you look at healthcare from a Tennessee perspective, is our TennCare is the primary. It's Medicaid in Tennessee is TennCare, and for a while there it was kind of growing out of control, and we've reined that back in. But it's going to be a continuing budget issue for us. We spend $7.5 billion a year on TennCare in Tennessee. And we're going to have to make certain we find ways to address that so it doesn't just eat up every dollar in the budget.
We want to have some time to get to some of the gun laws because as a mayor you have a unique perspective on that. But real quick, before we leave healthcare, if they continue, as it appears, to push the cost on the states, what is your take on that? Governor Bredeson's been very against it.
And I think he's, you know, we're in opposite parties, obviously, but I think he's done an admirable job for the state of helping define reality. The problem in Washington is they can pass laws and don't have to live with the consequences. In state and local government, because we have to balance our budget, we have to live with the consequences. And the health care plan as currently envisioned Governor Reston's been real clear, that will cost us as a state an additional $750 million over the next 5 years. Now, we're already $1 billion in the hole. But the reason is easy. With TennCare patients, we pay a third, the federal government pays 2/3. As we expand who's covered, it expands the cost to the state of Tennessee. So I think one of the governor's roles is to stand up, hopefully in combination with other governors, and say, hold on a minute, what you're talking about, let's define reality. Let's talk about how that impacts us in the state. And like I said, Governor Reston's done an admirable job of that, and the next governor's going to have to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, there were several changes to gun laws that received a lot of attention during this past legislative session, especially the Guns and Bars and Guns and Parks bills. As mayor of Knoxville, you've had to address the Guns and Parks legislation. And do you support Knoxville's current ban?
Well, let me say, I'm a strong supporter of the Second Amendment, and what is, the Supreme Court has affirmed what's an individual right to bear arms. And Knoxville is actually the only large city in the state where it's not a criminal offense to carry your permitted handgun in a park. What I looked at is a situation where, if somebody's carrying, we have a park kind of right in the middle of downtown. Somebody can be walking down our main street, Market Street, and be perfectly legal, cut through this park, and all of a sudden they've broken the law. And if they had made it a criminal fine, then that person, because they just wandered through the park by accident, would have had a criminal offense on their record. So that part didn't make sense. So I'm really glad our city council left what was basically a municipal fine in place instead of moving it to a criminal offense.
The sale of firearms at gun shows in Tennessee has recently received some national attention. Are our current laws strict enough, and are they being properly enforced?
I think our laws are strict enough. I think the enforcement piece is what we're going to have to do. I mean, we don't need, out-of-state people, inserting themselves. I thought that was inappropriate. But I do think the focus has to be on enforcement. And I think we can do that here in Tennessee.
Well, what other areas of state government will you address in your first few weeks in office?
It's a great question. The 1,000-pound gorilla that's waiting on whoever the next governor is this. We have a fundamental budget shortfall. The state's budget ended last year over $1 billion short. And the state has to balance their budget every year. And the only way we did that is we took money out of our rainy day fund, and we took money out of the federal stimulus plan. The problem for both of those for the next governors, neither of those sources of revenue are going to be around. The rainy day fund I think will be depleted to about a minimum level. And the stimulus fund monies will be spent in this year's budget and next year. So the new governor is going to walk into a situation with a fundamental $1 billion shortfall, and it's going to have to address that. So a lot of people are going to say, well, here's what I want to do as governor, and I want to do this, I want to do that. There's a whole lot of things I want to do. But first, you're going to have to address a really serious budget shortfall. Now, I'll say this, too. I think the next governor is going to have the hardest time to be governor of anybody in recent memory. I think the problem's that serious.
Okay. Well, we thank you so much for taking time to be here with us.
Thank you. Time flies with you guys. I can't believe we've hit the end, but thank you for allowing me to be here, and hopefully I'll get a chance to come again.
Absolutely. We'll love to have you back. Well, if you'd like more information on the Bill Haslam for Governor campaign, you can log on to his website. That is at billhaslam.com.
And if you would like to watch this program again or review other programs in our series covering the 2010 governor's race, we have a link on our website at volstate.edu/Inside Politics. We hope you will join us next time here on Inside Politics.
For more information about the guests on this show, please visit our website at volstate.edu/Inside Politics.